Mic on.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to recap the NFL draft. We're talking winners, we're talking losers. As you guys know, every time the draft comes around, everybody likes to do their little post draft analysis, see who the studs were, the duds were, the steals were, the potential busts are going to be, right? And I kind of like to do something like that myself. So I got a little post draft analysis recap video for you. Just real quick, I'm gonna have some other videos. As I've said before, I have some other videos during this off season before we get to next year's or until we get to the 2024 regular season. I'm gonna have some lead up with some futures bets for you guys and some other content like that. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the winners. First, we're gonna start out with the Chicago Bears. You got to say they hit it out the park with Caleb Williams. It's an obvious pick. You don't get the first pick, and this was a situation where the first pick actually a quarterback well, I'll just say that I agree with. Like, okay, I understand why you would take him first overall. While I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. was the best overall player in the draft, I had Caleb Williams as third. You can't trade down, right? Because you're not going to get your guy. So you got to do this when you got the first pick of the draft. So I like that pick for them. I like the offense they have built around him. I think the Bears. I think Caleb's going to win Rookie of the Year, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears made the playoffs. I think these guys are going to be streaking this year, but we'll get more into that as we get closer to the season. In the first round, they also took Roma Dunze, great wide receiver, one of the top wide receiver prospects in a wide receiver deep draft. So great pick there, getting Roma Dunze. So those two guys right there puts them into the winners column. Now you look at the Steelers, who have a contention for contend for best draft overall, and that's really due to the first two picks. Trofant, new out of Washington. He played offensive tackle there. He's probably going to move to guard because he's got the body type for a guard. But he, I mean, the guy's nasty, and you're going to see a guy who's going to make certain Pro Bowls, probably an All Pro or two before his career is done. Then you go to second round, you get Zach Frazier, who's going to step right in probably and start at center. He was thought of for most of last season as the best center in the country. So to be able to hit on these two offensive linemen, you're really going to clear up your interior, which they needed that help. I mean, Najee Harris was bad last year, but they weren't getting the push they needed either up front. So these two guys are going to really help with that. And a little couple steals in there might be Peyton Wilson. I thought he was a really good linebacker for NC State. He made a lot of plays for them, tracking ball carries and playing pass coverage. And then Ryan Watts, man. Ryan Watts, 6'3". You could move him to safety. He probably will move to safety. He was way better than a six-round cornerback. So I think that was a great pick for them, getting him late in the draft. Now you go to Baltimore, who is my pick for the winner of the draft. I think they had the best draft. This was not a good draft class for corners. It was pretty weak actually. It's the weakest position in this draft was cornerback. While I don't think there are any great all pro caliber corners in this draft, I think there were some good ones. And Nate Wiggins is going to qualify as that as one of the good ones. I think Nate Wiggins is going to go in there and start day one and put up a good he's going to hold his own. We'll say, well, he's going to hold his own. He's definitely going to get beat at times. You saw him get beat at times in college, but he's definitely going to hold his own. He's going to grow into that role and become better as his career progresses. Rosen Gardner was a great offensive tackle for them. You didn't really hear much about him until this past season. But he was a great offensive tackle for the Huskies. That's a good pick for Baltimore. He'll probably compete for a starting job. Adisa Isaac out of Penn State. Him and Chop Robinson were two great edge rushers that would bring hell for Penn State last year. Isaac doesn't have the explosion that Chop Robinson has, but he's a damn good pass rusher in his own right. I think what you got there is you got a perfect third down specialist, pass rusher on third and long situations. I think he's going to fill that role nicely. Don't be surprised if he's a guy who maybe while he doesn't become a starter in the league, he's a guy who will get you like a half a dozen to 10 sacks per season because he can bring that heat off the edge on third down. Tez Walker. Tez Walker, you got Tez Walker in the fourth round. This guy could be a number one. I mean, I'm going to say it again. You got him in the fourth round. The guy could be a number one. The knock on him was he's a little lean and they don't think his route running is that clean. You can coach that up. Man, I saw Tez Walker come from the MAC, go to UNC, only got to play half a season and bust up everybody's secondary. I mean, the guy is made for the NFL. That was a great pick. He could eventually develop into their number one or a high end number two for them. But that's a great pick getting somebody like him in the fourth round. And then, like I said before, corner was a weak position right in this draft. But TJ Tampa, man, TJ Tampa, the unheralded, underrated, never talked about because he played in Ames, Iowa for the Iowa State Cyclones. TJ Tampa might have be the best corner in this draft. In fact, I'd make the argument. I'm gonna put it out there right now because I'm like that. I'm that guy who does that, right? TJ Tampa is the best corner in this draft, and the fact that you got him in the fourth round. I know Quincy out of Philly is a good player, and people like to talk Cooper DeJean and all that. Man, this guy's better than both of them. All right, TJ Tampa is physical, speed, long arms, knows how to play the position, great corner. Do not be surprised if he's starting at some point this season as a rookie. If he's starting at some point his rookie year for in Baltimore. Moving on, the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh had a great first year drafting. Joe Alt, he took him with the fifth pick overall. I don't think Joe Alt was the fifth best player in this draft, but he is a first rounder. So, and you got to protect Justin Herbert because he keeps getting banged up. So that pick made sense. So it's a good pick there. Ladd McConkey, you get him in the second round. Wide receiver deep draft. Ladd McConkey can ball. Now I know some people are gonna hate on him for obvious reasons, but I'm gonna tell you like this: I've seen Ladd McConkey ball against guys who didn't look like Cooper DeJean. I'm just gonna put it out there like that, man. Kid can rock. You got to give it to him. So that was a great pick. I like Junior Colson out of Michigan. That's Jim Harbaugh's guy. So he's gonna know him well. He's gonna know that he's where he wants him in his defense. And Junior Colson was a great player at Michigan, both against the run and the pass. So good picks there in those first three picks. I'll tell you right now, in the fifth round they took Tarheeb Steele and Cam Hart out of Maryland and Notre Dame. Those are throwaways. I saw Tarheeb Steele get cooked relentlessly at Maryland. I can't believe he got drafted. And then Cam Hart is a zero impact player. So I don't think he did that great in the middle to end. But in the top three picks, he did an outstanding job. Jim Harbaugh did an outstanding job. Now you go to Tennessee with J.C. Latham. He's going to get that right tackle only label, but that's fine because he's going to be a very, very strong right tackle for the Tennessee Titans. He was outstanding at Alabama. Then you got Tavondre Sweat out of Texas at D tackle. He paired with Byron Murphy to give Texas an outstanding defensive tackle presence, and Byron Murphy went round one. Well, guess what? In my opinion, Tavondre Sweat was better than Byron Murphy if you were watching last year. He takes on double teams, lets his linebackers make plays. He can also break through double teams and make plays against the run his damn self. So pairing him with Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee, I'm telling you right now, the Titans got something with that tandem right there. And then Cedric Gray, man, underrated player for UNC. I mean, Tar Heels didn't have anything on defense outside of Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray made all the plays for the UNC defense. Great pick right there. I think you're going to see him probably sneak into a starting job at some point early on in his career. And then finally, the Raiders. Raiders got who I believe was the second best player in the draft, and that's Brock Bowers. You're going to say, man, tight end, you can't have a tight end that high. Man, Brock Bowers is like that. He's the Travis Kelce of college football. He could take end arounds, short passes, and he go down the field, and he blocks much better than you think. Brock Bowers is total package for the Raiders. They had Michael Mayer already, so I was kind of surprised by this. So I think they're going to run a lot of two tight end sets, but that's going to be a dangerous two tight end sets with Mayer and Bowers, who both can kind of do the same thing. It's going to be interesting watching the Raiders play if they get a quarterback, right? They also took Jackson Powers Johnson. He played center for Oregon. He's probably going to move to guard. A good player, though. And then I thought Delmar Glaze, offensive tackle out of Maryland, I think he's a good player. Some people have said that's a reach, taking him in the third round. Delmar Glaze was good at Maryland. I don't know what they're seeing or what they're talking about, but maybe that's a little too much looking at combine stuff because he's a good player. But that wraps it up for our winners. Now let's take a look at our losers. You got winners, you got to have losers, right? So it's out with the Saints. Talise Fuaga at Oregon State, I think, is a dog at offensive tackle. That's a great pick. It's just the rest of that draft is really bad. Kool-Aid McKinstry was never that dude at corner. He's not going to clamp down on anyone. And you see that Terrion Arnold got taken ahead of him. And people thought Kool-Aid McKinstry was some All-American stud. Terrion Arnold got taken ahead of him. And Terrion Arnold's not even like that. Fifth round, Spencer Rattler. I mean, that's a throwaway. Spencer Rattler's never going to start in the league. Bud Means, really inconsistent player. This draft is a complete throwaway after Fuaga. You go to the 49ers. They take Ricky Pearsall, round one. Good receiver, good route runner, great hands. But you took him round one. If you told me Ricky Pearsall got taken at the end of the second round or early third round, I'd have said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Round one, there were better receiver options out there. And I know you got to go receiver because the writing is basically on the wall that you can't keep Ayuk and Debo. I think everybody in the league knows you can't. So you had to go receiver. Makes sense, but there were better guys out there. Renardo Green at corner, physical corner who does well against I guess I would call below average receivers. He's not going to see that in the league. Anytime I saw any receiver with any kind of pro potential uh, matched up with Renardo Green, they would bust him up. I don't like that pick at all. Malik Mustafa in the fourth round. If you watch, I watch a lot of college football and pro, right? So I'm watching Wake Forest games. Announcers used to always talk up Mustafa as he's doing this, he's doing that. Man, that dude was always whiffing tackles, taking poor angles, getting busted. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. No, he's not like that. This whole draft isn't like that. I don't think you're going to get one impact player out of it. Pearsall is good, but he's not going to be great. So I thought this was a really bad draft for the 49ers, who typically draft well. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about they do, but we'll see because I usually do. Uh, Going on, the Packers. If you would ask me, man, who's going to be the biggest bust of the NFL draft? And the biggest bust is usually a first round pick. In my opinion, you can't call anybody a bust who wasn't taken in the first round, right? Well, I'm not going to talk quarterbacks right now. I'm going to say it's Jordan Morgan. It's got to be. If you watch Jordan Morgan at Arizona, you really telling me you saw a first rounder? No way you saw a first rounder when you watched him. Any kind of edge rusher with any kind of talent could get past this guy. Green Bay starts this guy day one. If he's a week one starter, man, you guys are in trouble because any good edge rusher is getting past this guy. There's talk he's going to move him inside, so that would make sense. But it's still a reach taking him in the first round, man. You told me you took him in the fourth round. I would say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. First round. If you told me you took him in the second round, I'm like, what? No. So I thought that was a really bad reach. Edgerrin Cooper's a good player, but he's not going to make a high impact on their defense. Javon Bullard, same for Javon Bullard. Marshawn Lloyd, nice back out of USC, but he's a committee back. Just this whole draft is bad. I mean, I'd rank them as a D minus. This is a D minus draft in my opinion. Going on to Buffalo, you take Keon Coleman. You need a wide receiver one because Stephon Diggs left. You take Keon Coleman, ran a 4.6 40, and on tape, he showed that he's a little bit soft when it comes to making catches over the middle and things like that. I don't know if maybe he was trying to protect himself. Who knows for his draft positioning? But I'm just telling you what I saw, man. So if you 4.6, if you're slow and soft, I don't know about that. I don't know how it's going to work out for you in the NFL. Great athlete though, he can go up and get it. But I don't think he's gonna pan out as a wide receiver one that they think that they're getting. The rest of the draft: Cole Bishop, Dwayne Carter, Ray Davis. These guys are okay players as far as the NFL goes, who probably aren't going to make high impact in the league. Though I have always liked Ray Davis, but I mean he's not going to start with James Cook there, right? Moving on to Cincinnati, who, if you ask me, who had the worst draft? This is an F draft here with Cincinnati. First, you take Amarius Mims, and I know we saw Nick Saban kind of took his own shots at him, but rightfully so. I mean, Amarius Mims in Georgia, they played Alabama in the SEC championship game. Mims played like a drive or two, and then he was out, took himself out the game. Nobody ever really found out what was really wrong with him. It wasn't really clear what was really wrong with him. So I don't know. That tells me right there that you don't really got that dog in you because this is the SEC championship. And this is a chance to get to the play. You win, you're in the playoff, right? And you're defending national champs. He also doesn't have a very big body of work because he didn't play that many games at Georgia. So I don't know. You got to get a guy to protect Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow's always getting banged up. But you drafted an offensive tackle who more than likely might be on the sideline more than Joe Burrow is. So I don't know about that pick. I don't like that pick. I thought that was an awful pick myself. So I agree with Nick Saban on that. Chris Jenkins, you take him in the second round. Yeah, he's good, but I mean he wasn't even the best D lineman on Michigan's team. So I mean, Mason Howard out of Michigan. I mean he's still in school. He's much better than him. So I don't like that pick either. Jermaine Burton's never really done much in college outside of Cook and Texas A&M. This whole draft is just you can completely forget about it because it's not going to work out. I thought that Cincinnati did a really terrible job here. And then finally moving on to the Patriots. So got to talk about a quarterback. I didn't bring up the Broncos. I thought Bo Nix was a reach. I think he'd probably end up being a bust. But Broncos did some other things in the draft that kept them off this list. Patriots, not so much. You take Drake May. Maybe it's Sam Howell and Mitchell Trubisky weighing on me. But I saw Drake May play. He has a good arm. but he made some poor decisions. He had some inaccurate throws. He's mobile, but he just something missing with him. I just don't see it. I don't think this is the same, Mac Jones situation where Mac Jones was an obvious bust. I mean, dude had a pop gun arm. That was the worst. I called that draft day, by the way. Drake made better arm, but he's just missing something. I just don't see it. I don't like this pick. I understand the Patriots need a QB, but sometimes you don't gotta reach for a QB if there's not one there. You should have just tried to trade up and get, you know, Jaden Daniels. I mean, obviously you're not gonna get Caleb Williams because he's not gonna get out of that spot. But if you should try to trade up and get Jaden Daniels or something. Jalen Pope, wideout for Washington, was a good player, but he's not a number one. Caden Wallace, that's gonna be a whiff at offensive tackle, and Layden Robinson, pretty much the same thing. But anyways, that wraps it up. That's our winners. That's our losers. If you agree, disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you like the content, please like, follow, subscribe, all of that. As you can see, my YouTube handle here in a few seconds. Take it.
Mic off.